Hello,
Hi.
everybody. Hello. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope your week has been going well. Welcome to Two Geek Girls. I want to say welcome to Kelly.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. How?
Sorry.
That's all right. You can go ahead. How you doing today, Kelly?
I'm it is a Thursday. That Windows update is ruining every single laptop I own.
Yep.
So, yay.
Yep.
I hate
Yep.
it, yeah. So I'm currently dealing with some disk issues on the laptop I normally record on. So if my work laptop dies, it dies, guys. I'm sorry.
Uh, we'll pack in as much as we can until then.
Yeah.
Do our best. So
Here's hoping.
here's hoping. It's been a little while. I think it's a huge announcement. Lots of trailers came out. Lots of there's some publication news, there's some Marvel news, there's some DC news, but for me it was like the trailers were everywhere. Bad Batch was released. Loki is coming out early. That's what I've been trying to keep. Can you hear me?
No, it's on my end though. It's the internet issues. I wasn't able to reset like I had planned.
Okay.
So
We'll see. So you can't hear me. Let's see if we can get in the comment section. Hey, hey. So basically I wanted to ask you guys out
uh,
there on YouTube, we're gonna see if we can reset Kelly's mic real quick. Until then, tell us in the comment section. I know for me, I was watching trailers that were dropping, everything from Stranger Things.
mhm.
Stranger Things has dropped. Um, Looks like it's going to be a bit of we're gonna get some more background, as they're calling it. It's Eleven's siblings. We got a bit of a teaser with that. We got the trailer for Quiet Place 2. Hey, hey, hey.
Mhm.
Which I was excited about. I actually really, really liked that movie. I thought there was a lot that was smart about that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because you're sounding better now.
Okay.
It's just not sure how this is gonna run, not sure how long. So very sorry. But no, I'm excited to see where they're going because it's a definitely a different movie than the first one. I actually saw the trailer in the theater. Since I'm fully vaccinated, I decided I wanted to go see a movie. I would not suggest watching Separation. I thought it
Okay.
sounded cool.
Yeah.
It's not. Um, it's every pretentious idea for a new horror movie ever thrown in there. I think somebody wrote it's like the worst take of merging Insidious versus Kramer, Kramer versus Kramer, and
Right. Right.
yeah, I sort of agree. I mean, so like the idea of separation is a comic book artist, struggling comic book artist, got is getting a divorce from his wife, and his wife unexpectedly dies. And so he gets to take his girl in, but of course his family or her family's very adamant on like her last wishes were no custody, and now there's these ghosts in the house. However, there's all these little plot holes about like there's apparently maybe there's always been ghosts in the house, and there's weird twists that I if you really want to watch it, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but very very weird. And then like I had a particular thing where I kept seeing they had a huge scene about like putting a key lock on the attic door because
Mhm.
obviously the attic door kept unlocking. Uh, but every other scene after that, like it was a 50-50 toss up of that key lock actually being there. So you knew like they were filming things before they did that. And
Ah,
very post editing was very odd. I'll put it that way.
I
It
mean,
was
yeah, we get
yeah,
that horror movies are supposed to be, cost effective, but come on, guys.
it was like I was just like they had no clue what they wanted, and they threw 3 different horror stories. Like they filmed 3 different ones and then just stitched that together. That's when they had a
Right.
really cool idea here.
It's very rare that a movie can kind of like, and in this case, it's not switching genres. It's switching what type of
Yeah.
movie within that genre it wanted to be. But there's very few examples of movies that can switch a genre in the middle of a movie, which does happen and can even be successful. You think you're going in for one movie and well done, it turns out it's a completely different type of movie. But I don't think, but this is a running problem in horror movies where clearly somebody just kind of wanted to be Zack Snyder and have a cool thing happen in the movie.
Yeah.
Without much to back it up.
Well, it's the issue is things never can. You wind up just not feeling anything for any of the characters, and that's a major point of like when you're trying to tell a ghost story dealing with like, because essentially most ghost stories are dealing with grief and things of the past that you don't want to face. And it's almost like they didn't understand that, but they understood like, oh, if a child goes through trauma, they'll regress. But even that plot point didn't like go anywhere. It's just like, okay, so the child randomly just calls herself baby. Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's very awkward. Like you basically wind up like you don't have any emotional attachment to anything. So in any case, what I was going to say though, lots of cool trailers because
yes. So basically the best part for you was A Quiet Place. It was like the trailers including A Quiet Place too.
Yeah, and Spiral, the new Spiral with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, which it's Saw. It's Saw, which, and this is what I was saying because it's like it actually makes me want to watch it, but I'm not a body horror kind of girl. But I'm like, would Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock steer me wrong? Probably, but like I would hope that they wouldn't. Because normally their movies don't feature body horror.
Right. No, that would be quite a part. That's interesting. And I've only ever seen the teaser. It sounds like this is a bigger trailer that's out. Like I didn't get all. Okay, so this is more information than I had before.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, obviously we all knew Spiral was a part of Saw. It's kind of their little reboot that they're doing. But it's not necessarily a full reboot because it's definitely like after the last events of Saw. And it's being told through a second generation detective played by Chris Rock. His dad is Samuel L. Jackson, and they're basically looking for the copycat, Jigsaw copycat. And yeah, it's really interesting, but I think it's mostly interesting because it's them. And why would they be attached? Although Chris Rock's like an executive producer, but why would like they it's an interesting concept that I want to see, but at the same time I'm like, it's Saw. It's Saw though.
Right. And I mean there's still a market for it. The sequel still did relatively well financially. Clearly people still absolutely into it. So I'm here for that. But again, like, yeah, the biggest draw is this kind of who's in it? Wait, who's doing this?
Yeah, here's these 2 A-list stars that could literally do whatever they wanted, and they're in
Saw.
They're in a Saw movie, which looks to be very based in Saw lore, which is a lot of fun, but you missed that part because body torture. Like it's torture porn. So I don't like torture porn. I don't really want to watch it. But I'm really
never gonna.
No. But I'm really tempted because it's Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson, and now I'm like, I could trust these guys, right? And it's like this is gonna just prove, like I already know going in. No, it's gonna prove to me absolutely wrong. I'm sure.
I think for me with horror movies is I love what it's the originality or somebody. Basically it's the filmmaking. It's the good filmmaking. Like I don't look for, like you said, the gore, the body torture, any type of that, or I prefer more of like the Haunting of Hill House and that style. But when something is well done, I'll watch it for that reason. If I'm hearing from somebody that they're okay, it sounds like an old trope, but they did something really cool with it. Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see it. Saw was original for its time. That was one that just like from beginning to end, you're like, holy crap. And for that movie experience is why I wanted to see it.
Yeah. Well, and my thing is like the first time, fine. The second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Like even though what is so it has a really, really good villain story. I won't lie about that. But the problem is it gets lost in what they feel is their biggest draw, which is always the gore.
Bigger
And I'm like, but you have a really creepy psychological thriller here, which is what they seem to be doing here with the Spiral. At least looking by the trailer. Yeah, I'm
which
hoping.
Would be the smart thing to do. That would be the smart thing to do for this.
Yeah, but of course it's, will that be what we're getting, or will it still wind up being Saw? Because a part of the trailer does have Samuel L. Jackson hooked up to contraptions after being like seemingly taken. And It's like, oh god, but you don't see anything like you normally do in a Saw trailer.
Right.
So it's very shock and awe and more psychological thriller based. It almost feels like you remember those movies in the early 2000s where everything was based off the Zodiac killer?
Yeah.
That's the way it starts off and feels, which is really cool if you're using that aspect with the Saw, because again, it's literally one of the major, like the lasting components of Saw is Jigsaw and the characters behind Jigsaw and how that plays out and the psychosis and like their rules. That's really cool. I just don't like the game. So it's interesting. I'm interested because like it played. I mean, I think it was like a good 25 minutes of previews, just straight.
The season.
Back to back to back, and it was that one. It was A Quiet Place. There's another horror movie I think coming out because of course I was watching a horror movie, so all of them were horror based. But that's really cool. I know, speaking of like trying to just segue into other things, otherwise we talk about horror movies all day long, is Loki is moving to Wednesdays.
Yeah. So that's several days earlier than they'd originally announced.
Yes. So which a friend of mine off the MCU ATL group, and we do our reviews and podcasts every other week while things are going on, like while things are being recorded. So if you guys want to check that out, that is on MCU ATL on Facebook. But someone mentioned is this to impede maybe like they're doing the TV shows on Wednesdays, so then that way the summer blockbusters like Black Widow and other Marvel movies aren't impeded by the free content, because you're still going to have to be paying, other than I think it's one Pixar movie like Luca. Everything's going to be the $30, which of course for Black Widow I don't mind. That's fine. I'd like to go into the theaters, but I think ultimately I'm probably just to keep the crowds down, I'm willing to pay for it because that's fine. Yes, because it's Black Widow, but
it's a lot. I mean,
it's a lot.
It's interesting that the announcement came just as they dropped the trailer of the whole phase coming up, including the several new movie announcements. So yes, I think you guys are right. I think there's definitely a correlation there.
Yeah, well, I think I was also wondering because they have other TV shows that have been premiering on Fridays, like High School Musical, like that little faux reality TV show. the Mighty Ducks reboot, which I still haven't watched. And I'm
No.
also wondering if they're just moving Marvel stuff that's not the movies on Wednesdays. Like after Loki, it'll just always be on Wednesdays. And
Right.
then
Or is it
everything
just
else,
Loki?
yeah, and then everything else might be here. Or it could just be Loki. And honestly, depending on what's in the stories,
Hmm.
they also might be doing Wednesdays. So then that way, because what Disney has been doing has been it's about 2 days and they lift the embargo.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering if they're setting that up so then that way the
On the
embargo
weekend.
can be lifted on the weekends. But of course, that's going to make people more just upset because at least then people had the weekend to watch the show. But then they also might just be still going to do that lift the embargo on Monday and give you extra time to watch the show. I'm not like there's a lot of different reasons they could be moving it. That's not like bad. And yay, this just happened again.
Thank you, Bankman. Yes.
Thank you,
Yes, I
Bigman.
agree.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like at the end of the day, it's interesting
Yep.
to see what they're doing. I don't really have a big like I'm bummed because I think it's going to be harder for me to watch at 3 a.m. So that
Yes.
me or at all ultimately. Oh wow, did that die? Sorry, hold on 1 second.
You're good.
I was like, I just noticed my light died. Yay. There we go. So yeah, it's we just don't know why
Yeah,
they're
with
doing it.
Yeah, no official word on that. Was it
Yeah.
because this is number three? This is the third show, so they've had two different types of shows that they've kind of had to feel out how everything goes. They've had WandaVision, which had its own reactions and it's kind of its own audience base, and then they had Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
Now that also had its own. So yeah, I'm wondering. So that's a possibility given the timing that it has come after both of those shows. But I mean, again, we could speculate all we want. There's no until
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do know that Loki was the one everyone was looking at,
running.
and
Yes.
hardcore fans and casual fans will follow Loki because it's Loki. I
Yeah.
know that just from not that I heard anything on set, but since it was filmed here,
Hmm.
as Dragon Con is very predominantly shown in the Marriott lobbies,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the trailers,
Like,
it's
oh, I know that lobby. It's like, oh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it is. From what I understand, there is a very, very fun script and fun story we will be seeing. And when I say fun, I mean basically it's not. I wouldn't necessarily call it bonkers, but it's there's going to be a lot of surprises that the hints I was given, if I am reading them correctly, will be interesting to see.
Like DB,
So
like DB Cooper could probably be the least of it.
yeah, like DB Cooper is the least of it. That's basically it. So
Gotcha.
it's I don't there could be many reasons that they've chosen to do this. We will only see, but I do think the leading theory is definitely because the movies are going to be still on Friday. It makes more
Okay.
sense not to try and cram as much Marvel into the night as possible. And then two, they're ramping everything up on Disney Plus. I mean, they've got Bad Batch for Star Wars. I think they've got another Star Wars show
Hmm.
at some point this summer.
Yeah.
So it's
That too.
they it
Yeah.
makes sense to start moving things to different nights is what it
Yes.
gets down to. And I think Loki probably was the strongest one that they knew people would just move along with.
You could put that on any night. Nobody's going anywhere.
Yeah.
People will stay up and drink coffee the next day if they have to.
Yeah. And I think that they knew that as much as I'm like, this makes this harder on
Agreed.
everybody. Because it's like, it's one thing for me to like run through Friday night tired. It's entirely another thing to run through Thursday night tired. So we'll see what they do. Or rather, I guess more than likely it's really it'd be Tuesday or Wednesday night. I would be tired, but still. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what they do. Um,
So
yeah,
with the movies coming out, I'm taking you got a chance to see the beautiful eclipsing phase trailer that came out with the Stanley opening.
yeah. So I didn't actually originally realize what that was for, and I was just listening in, even though like I saw Eternals and I saw this,
Right.
I was just like, oh,
Yep.
okay.
They
Like
tricked
I
everyone
guess
with
this is
that
a Phase
one.
4 trailer. Well,
Yep.
it's really funny because I was just like, oh, it's a Phase 4 trailer. Okay, great. And like la di da, thinking maybe I missed an Eternals thing somewhere or that it was coming out later. It just didn't bug me. I was like focused on the what Stan was saying about how everybody's together and it's family, because I was actually dealing with the fact that Dan Slott finally blocked me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's a thing. I mean, let's be fair here. I've been very honest on my feelings about it.
Yes. Which
Probably only a matter of time since he searches for himself.
I was,
Um,
yes. Yes, I think we even hinted that that was a possibility because
that was gonna happen.
like,
Yeah, no, we all knew it was gonna happen. But
yeah.
it was really funny because it was like we had just found out and like he had done like this mass thing to actually a bunch of fan accounts of his that I had talked to, and because we had had a respectful conversation, and it really felt like either he found my comment and then realized they didn't defend him and he blocked them, or something else. Like, it's very awkward and weird because they literally were defending him, they just were being respectful about other people's opinions.
Right.
So what the heck? All right, great. And it really upset them. And so like I was really upset for them. And then all of a sudden that came out and I was like, these are really nice words from Stan Lee. If only someone would actually listen to them. And then I was like, oh wait, that's actually for Phase 4. They were actually doing an announcement. Oh, okay. And then,
No, it is.
everyone
Yeah, no,
flipped out because of the Fantastic Four sign and
yep,
we got in the Eternal previews. But the thing is,
yep.
we knew we were going to get Eternal previews at some
Shang-Chi.
point this year. Yeah,
Yes.
well, and Shang-Chi, of course, Shang-Chi's coming out this year, like in a few months. So we knew we were getting that.
Yes.
Um, Fantastic Four, I think, was the biggest shocker because then like put
We
that
didn't
into
know.
Forbes. Well, we
I
still
had
don't
to
have
go back.
casting. We
I
still
had
don't
to
have casting. Yeah,
yeah, I had to go back. I was like, wait, was that what I
yeah.
thought that
Well,
was? To go
Well,
back.
it's we know that it's happening. Like we've known it's gonna happen. We know the movie's gonna be there. It's
I
gonna
thought
be
it would be like
big.
a cameo first. Like I thought it would be like I was expecting some sort of
Oh,
as opposed to I yeah, like, yes, you're right. The idea of a Fantastic Four movie, like a standalone or something on its own, for sure. But I thought it was going to come with like something here first, like an
yeah.
insertion of some kind.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
we still have no clue what's going on with Loki. We have no clue what's gonna
no,
happen in the new Black Panther movie that apparently has been filming under our noses.
yep,
I
yep.
mean, there were rumors out here, but
There's always rumors. That's the thing
but it was,
because
but it was
it's
like,
like
but it was
always
like this.
rumors.
This one was like a definite like nobody was talking about it, and this is Atlanta. Normally, like we'd hear some confirmation somewhere. No, there was no like true confirmation. It was just like
No,
they might be filming here. Like I don't even think I know the code.
mm-mm.
I don't think anybody does, which
Mm-mm.
is interesting. I'm very happy that they've gotten away with this. But yeah, so Wakanda Forever is happening. And that's going to be interesting. I'm glad that they're keeping up with their original timeline for it.
Mm-hmm.
Even
In
even
spite of the
without,
law.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
even with their immense loss that we're not going to be able to replicate. It's interesting that is as far as in filming as expected after COVID, and that is shocking. I'm trying to also think like because the thing is like Fantastic Four, and I've said this multiple times. If we're gonna see a Fantastic Four um, lead in or like one of those little teasers at the end, I would
Mm-hmm.
say it makes the most sense in a Black Panther movie. And I know everyone like freaks out over that, but the thing is Black Panther actually got his start in comics in the Fantastic Four. That's his first appearance.
Correct.
So wouldn't it make sense in the MCU, since Black Panther came first, to have the Fantastic Four show up in a Black Panther movie?
Yeah.
At least as a teaser. Like, I mean, like if they start teasing like Doctor Doom is a possibility, like someone that maybe wants to take over Wakanda for Latveria, and then there's the Fantastic Four.
Right.
I don't,
Okay.
this is just me talking out my butt. I have no clue
No.
what they plan on doing, but like that to me always made the most sense.
Well,
And
yeah.
I think we're all at that point. Like just no more fantastic, no more four stick. I'll be honest, I really enjoyed the 2004 movies. And what's funny is now that they're on Disney Plus, there's a lot of younger fans
Enjoying
that
them.
never saw them, like, oh my goodness, I really like them because they're so campy and fun. It's like that's what they were supposed to be, but like it wasn't.
It
No one
felt
got that.
right. No, it was. I mean, that felt honestly for me. That felt like what those movies were like. What comic book movies were going to be at the time. We're coming out of it's the early 2000s. Like X-Men was the one that opened the door for this next level of it. So
Yeah,
it made sense that and I, Doug Jones fan. So anything the Silver Surfer, actually, I enjoyed a lot of that.
yeah. Well, the
So
Silver Surfer is honestly like a very underrated movie.
mhm.
I mean, it's campy. It is camp as all get out, but it is a very underrated movie because once you get to the Silver Surfer part, like it's one of the things outside of comics that I think does understand the Silver Surfer
Yes,
to a
it
degree.
was very true too. Yeah,
And
it was
they
very
had
true too.
yeah, and they had a very uphill battle because I
Too
don't think
dumb.
that they had access to Galactus.
No.
I don't think Fox had access to that at the time. I mean, they might have and just chose not to use it for money reasons, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that like they didn't get access to that or something. It was something weird. But
Yeah.
because I know that they mention Galactus, but like I don't remember him being shown. So
There
I
was
don't
like
know.
yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what you could see during the Silver Surfer's monologue,
Hmm.
and there's stuff happening that he's seen in his past,
Yeah.
but I can't remember anything fully formed of Galactus.
Yeah, I remember there being there was a definite like hint, but I don't think there
Yes,
wasn't anything outwardly there. And see, and that's the thing too, is I do have a feeling that once we see Fantastic Four, we're gonna see Galactus as terms as the big bad for the next chapter of the MCU,
correct.
especially if we're dealing with the Eternals. But I also
Yeah,
think that the Eternals is gonna be everybody's answer to the mutants, in a way. We'll see what they choose to do here. We also have the multiverse very clearly. Doctor Strange, I'm very excited for, but we still haven't seen anything from it as much as that it did wrap. But see, that wasn't anywhere in the previews, and neither was anything about Spider-Man, which is wrapped. And honestly, I would say
I'm
by
into
next year is going to be
Loki,
ready to
man.
go, huh?
Yeah, I know yes, but I'm like I'm one now. This makes me wonder what's going to be in Loki. Like
Yeah,
now,
well,
this makes me wonder what's going to happen. Are they
because
holding on to it?
they're
Have it?
oh yeah, they totally are. Like, because they're whatever happens in Loki is going to tie in somewhat to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness,
Hmm.
because we're dealing with it. Like we know who we're dealing with. But it's interesting because there's always been the hints, especially with Doctor Strange being in Spider-Man, that's also going to be dealing with it. Although Andrew Garfield, besides which I feel the true story is he's got a secret Twitter and is seeing everybody's thirst tweets. By the way, um, but he's not in the film. Like he's literally saying, "I did not get a call. I was not where they said I was. I am not in the movie. I wish I could tell
You
people.
said
Like I
that.
wish people would listen." Which then, of course, everyone used as, "Oh, it's reverse psychology," because he never actually said, "No, I'm not in the movie." He just said he never got a call. And the reason he's saying that is because he doesn't know what's going on in the story. And technically, if Sony wanted to put an actor in his suit,
Hmm.
that Peter Parker could still be in the movie.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean he's in the movie.
Right. Right.
They could use old footage of him and clips of him if they wanted to, because
Yeah.
they own that footage.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't know what they're doing, and that's what he's saying is I never got a call. Like, he
Right.
doesn't know what they're
You're
doing.
right. Yes, you're right.
Um,
Yep. So he's not saying, no, my Spider-Man is not in the movies. What he's saying is, don't look at me. I
yeah,
just
well,
work
I
here.
mean, not even like I work here. He's just like,
But like,
I got
yeah,
no clue. Because,
yeah,
he did sign on for 3 movies and they didn't get they terminated his contract. So they can do whatever they want depending on that termination.
yes, yes, where they could still
And
use the footage for any future promotions or whatever they decided to word it as.
yeah.
Yep.
And we all know from the Sony leaks that if Sony can do something like that, they will do something like that. So it's, I still think like, because too, even with what Alfred Molina said in Vanity Fair, which pretty much confirmed a multiverse situation, it said that he starts where he died, like where he supposedly died, which meant, okay, so maybe he's not, like, maybe instead of him actually dying in that world, he got pulled into another world.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going into that Raimi world. It doesn't mean that
With the
we're getting
yeah,
every character from that universe. For all we know, that's the same thing that happens to Electro. Um,
right.
we have no clue what's going on with that movie whatsoever, other than, we have to take the actor's word for it. If they weren't on set, they weren't on set, and no one has said that Andrew Garfield was on set, other than that random weird DoorDash delivery driver off Twitter, who I still don't think actually delivered food to Andrew Garfield
Right.
uh,
Right.
in
Yeah. No.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
there,
and even then, that doesn't mean he was doing that. Like
yeah,
I'm just like, people do have to come to Atlanta for other things sometimes,
yeah,
especially actors. Like, we
exactly,
don't know. We don't
exactly.
know. But I mean, with the villain ones, it's fun to speculate and kind of rack over our brains. Like, okay, so how would the villains work into, if it's just the villains, if it's just this, if it's just, will you stop
Oh,
with that? It's like squeak, squeak, squeak.
oh.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
it?
It's
Is
a
it?
ball.
Okay, it's a.
It's
Okay.
her ball, and then I'm ignoring her. She squeaks it in my face. So
Aw.
I'm getting,
Well.
which is adorable, but she's perfectly aware of the fact that she's being obnoxious.
Aw.
So the one thing I was thinking of, because we have confirmation of Green Goblin, but what we have is confirmation that what they're making for Green Goblin is different this time. Like, the glider is different. Everything's being remade. So it's a new
Who's
Green
doing
Goblin.
Green Goblin? Because I haven't heard that at all.
I'm not talking about the actor. All I can say is that there's confirmation of props that have been made. That's all I can.
Yeah, but where are you getting that information? Because I haven't seen it.
Stuff that was seen here, and that's like what I can say, because it's a personal thing, but
Okay.
the photographs have been released on, like, opposite the person that I happen to.
You happen
They're
to know. Okay.
right. So it's
Okay.
like know of, if that makes sense. It's like know of, like, this is the person who has to help get stuff from point A to point B.
Okay. Yeah.
And not anybody who's making it, not anybody who's doing it, or anybody who's designing it or anything like that, but somebody who helps get from point A to point B. So they help stuff specifically go to one of the studios. And what happened to come out a couple weeks ago were pictures that people had found of a scrapped glider, one that had been, because the person couldn't stand on it effectively, but it was a brand new glider that as a brand new design, and it had been scrapped, and somebody got a picture of it after
Don't.
scrapped. So there's a new one being designed, and it's not one that we've seen before.
Okay. Well, I mean, in that case, it also too, because it might not be Green Goblin. They were talking about Hobgoblin being a major baddie, considering
There you go.
Jacob had lost all the weight and was seriously working out for the role. And of course, he is Ned Leeds. And in the comics, Ned Leeds at one point was the Hobgoblin. Now, of course, that also could mean that it might not be what we think it means
Right.
either.
Right.
But I would assume thinking of that glider, if it is what's happening, then that would be more of confirmation that that's the rumors that we have seen since the beginning, which, could be maybe we see Ned in another universe. Maybe they're using their characters in other universes if they are jumping through the multiverse. I know that way back when, although I haven't seen any actor that would be portraying Miles, they were talking about how that might introduce Miles into the MCU. And I know that's been a big thing that's been going around for years. Like there was even the discussion on how Miles should have probably been there over Peter in the MCU. But I also understand why that would have also caused outrage. So that this might be their solution. I'll have to look at the glider and see. So I will, if it has been leaked, I will find it, because I always have this big thing about when people sign NDAs, I try to honor them. And that's why if I get told information outside of their NDA, great. I'm happy, but I'm holding on to it is one of the reasons why it's like, I'm not telling anybody anything I've heard off Loki, because I've had quite a few people that wound up working on Loki that I know, and I want to respect their stuff. And that's what's like, I'm never going to say where they're from or what they're doing. And I'm never going to say the information that they gave me other than, DB Cooper is probably the least of the bonkers ideas that are there.
Not the least of the right. And again, like I'm fortunate enough to know people that work more with, they have to get stuff. They have clearance to get stuff to certain locations. So there's stuff that they are privy to, but that's not stuff I'm going to talk about until somebody somewhere spilled the beans on a scrapped glider. Which I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with anything of that. The people that did that. And again, it's not, I don't get any, I wish I could get something from like an actual prop head.
Look, I would keep my mouth shut if they just let me like look at stuff or, be on set. Like, let me use all of my Spider-Man podcast, non-clout that I have, because it's tiny, but like, let me use it.
I know, because there are shops here in Atlanta that build for every single movie, Marvel, DC, all of it, and it's like, we
do need to at least mention, is like, as much as I would love to go to the actual prop shops that are building that, because of my relationship in the prop community and my crazy abusive ex-boyfriend, who is a part of it vaguely, although I think most people have realized he can't be trusted. To me, he shouldn't be on a Disney set, considering he took one of the props from Guardians of the Galaxy and made his own mold out of a certain prop, and then was selling them at one point.
Made his own mold, really?
Yeah, I'm honestly like, I wish I could find somebody that I could discuss that with, because there is proof. Lots of proof. But that is my pet. That is the most petty of what I have for that. But like, I would love to just go and see things. I would love to go on set one day. It's like I've been around it long enough. Like it's a part of the industry, and it's like, I can keep my mouth shut. I promise. Like, I just want to go.
Yeah, no, anybody I know, people are really, really good in the community about what they do and don't say. And so even if I do, Alec loves props and stuff. So there is a lot of stuff that a lot of people that we do know here. But as far as the stuff that's working on DC and Marvel, anybody that I know is on that is really good about keeping their mouth really tight.
DC more than Marvel, honestly.
Honestly, far more than Marvel. And I think that's the only way that this whole thing, again, this and I'm trying to remember where it went around. I can't remember. I think it was going around Twitter.
Sony is the worst. Then it's Marvel Studios, and then it's DC, because Sony.
Of course, it was a glider.
Well, of course, it was a glider, but like, even during Venom, there was a team on Venom. I'm not going to say which team, but we all know outside of that which team was leaking everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and
Yeah.
they were just straight up they were just leaking everything. Like, they were just talking about anybody to anything about it because they were just excited to be there. But they were leaking everything. Like, how more stuff didn't get leaked out of Venom, I never know, because, like, just out of the local community, that plot got thrown out. Like, I knew the plot way before the movie
Right.
had even finished wrapping
Right.
because of
Yeah.
had been what had been just freely given
Yeah.
locally. Um, but hey, it's fine. It's fine. I know I haven't heard anything about the second movie, so there's at least that.
Okay.
But I don't think it was
That
filmed.
helps.
I don't think as much of it was filmed here like the first one was.
But
So
yeah. So there you go. But
yeah,
it's as much inside knowledge. I'm still like, woo! I'm
yeah,
excited. I'm happy. I think we're getting a lesson. Yeah, I do need to get going.
yeah.
Darn it. And I think Kelly's computer is probably
Actually, it's doing pretty well
oh
considering
good.
it's not. It's like 68% remaining, so
Oh
it's not
good.
doing too bad. But this one did blew out on me, so I got to figure out what's going on
Okay. Okay.
with MSI.
Well,
So
on that note, as much as Lucasfilm, just really quick,
they don't film here; they film in England.
and they the problems they have are they've had a lot of problems with props, and they've had a lot of problems, basically stuff just falling off of the back of trucks and
Or people leaving scripts in hotel rooms and
that. Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's not so much like a team of this, or yeah, it's more like it's just a huge production and
yeah. They're normally,
crap
I
fall
would say
through.
they're about the same as normal Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios doesn't really get leaked anymore. It's just more of there's now paparazzi here in Atlanta to a degree. It's not
Yep.
anywhere near a degree of like New York or LA or anybody like that, but they're here and they're almost specifically here following the city notices that have to be posted for when people film outside.
Yes.
And that's why you're finding these set photos from just Jared and stuff like that now, which it's really not okay. And I will say this at least about Atlanta, that if we do see that, I've noticed more people like off on the streets have a really negative reaction towards the paparazzi, which
Mhm.
I think is very good. I hope we keep that because I feel like that's a very Atlanta thing to do, being like, hey, you didn't get permission for this, like you need to go. Like,
Yep.
because it does uphold some of the mystery. Like, I mean, think about Civil War. I was even talking about that today. They kept Spider-Man's suit completely under wraps, and like now we know years later because it did come out. I think 6, 7 years ago today.
Mm.
Um, maybe even less. But less time. But it's just that was all kept under wraps, and of course now, like I know people from the wardrobe department and the prop department that was talking about how horrible that suit was because it was like the PVC polyurethane lining that they originally had for the suit wouldn't stay no matter what
Oh,
they did, because it is notorious, like that stuff is
wow.
notoriously hard to adhere to what they were using
But,
for the suit. And that never got leaked. Those photos never got leaked until after the NDA was up. And even then, I don't even would say that that's leaked as much as it's just they were allowed to talk about it and they were going to talk about how cool it was. Um,
no.
but like that never happened. But I remember paparazzi were, and mostly that came. I mean, you have to go, but like that, I can tell you who leaked that to just Jared and who took those
Mhm.
photos, and I wouldn't trust him with a 10-foot pole.
Okay.
But he used to work for CNN and got canned. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
it
anyway, like there's
yeah.
there's these little things, but most of the time that's kind of the issue on like most of the Marvel leaks now is just there's paparazzi, so you have to be extra careful
And this is
about what you
how,
talk about.
yeah.
Yeah,
And sometimes it's just amateur. And again, that's how certain photos have been getting out. It's not like it, because it's where they're not thinking about it, or it's about something that's been, in this case, it's a piece that had been scrapped.
discarded. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's where the cracks tend to be, is just where you're not really thinking about it anymore.
yeah.
So that, yep. Yep. Well, thank you again, guys.
Yeah.
Special thank you to Lissa. Thank you so much, Kelly, for joining us in spite of everything. All of the wonderful insight. And then thank you, everybody who joined us in our audience, and in our comment section. Thank you for all that. I know we didn't read through all the comments, but yes, Pow Pow, I miss you too. Glad you guys are excited for stuff that's coming out. So are we. And thank you so much for joining us. Kelly, of course, will be doing all of her stuff this week. What do you got coming up the next couple of days?
Tomorrow is another episode of Make Mine Mayday. We're going through 38 through 42. So we're definitely breezing on by. I know that Ultimate Spider Cast, I think we're doing something with them at some point at the end of June or early July, because they have a girl. All I know is her username, Lilith Hellfire, who is wanting to do stuff with the Capes and Lunatics podcast with the Spider-Man Ultimate cast, going through some Spider-Girl stuff herself. So I'm going to try and do something with her during that time. I think that that's going to be fun. And Crawlspace stuff, we're doing ASM reviews and Spidey news. I might need to go pull up that glider because I don't think anyone's talked about that yet. So that's why I was like, wait, how did you know about this? Where did this come from? But I will trust that you know your sources. So like if you've seen something and you know it's been leaked, I will have to go find it.
Yes, there were photos of that. And again, the only reason I heard about the photo was because of the who's actually involved with the who actually is part of the that heard about the leak because
they're upset about the leak, and so they've said something because it's already been leaked. I got that.
Correct.
That is a part of the movies. It's just I honestly have not seen it, which means there might be something I can get the crawl space. The Bleeding Cool hasn't been weird about because it's Bleeding Cool, and
so can't confirm anything except that I'm comfortable saying that.
Yeah, can't confirm it, but I'll find it, and then I might use you as another third party source and not say your name, and then make it even more mysterious because at that point it's telephone.
Right. Right. I'm down. All right, everyone. Okay. Thank you so much again. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you soon. And live long and prosper because we're still trekking. Bye.
That eye is messed up. Okay.